Am I supposed to stay with Michelle? I understand. Good morning, everybody. Yeah. You're all welcome to today's knowledge development. And today we'll be looking into something very common, especially to programmers. And the reason why, though this schedule will be very short, no need to worry about it. To be very precise and straightforward. Because there is nothing spectacular about the topic, but it's a must for me to do it. This will actually help those that are trying to go into programming more than those that are already in programming. And the topic is things I wish I knew when I started programming. There are some things, if had been in place, so many of us that are programmers today that are already developed would have wished they knew something before, while trying to learn programming. So we'll be looking into that today. And like I said, this schedule will be very short and precise. You don't need to introduction. I think we're going to skip that. We just go into the KD proper. So I've been able to list some things that most programmers actually things they wish they knew before starting programming. And the first one I have here is you don't need a degree to program, but you do need the knowledge. Most people, especially here in Nigeria, before you could do anything, you have to go to tertiary institution. After that, you have to go for service and all that. But programming is one kind of career that you don't really need degree. Though if you have a degree in computer science, it's an advantage. But for anyone, but it's not a necessity. If your wish is to become a programmer, you can actually do it without having a degree. And even if you have a degree in any non-computer science, that doesn't stop you from having or from being a programmer. There are quite a number of programmers out there that are working in a best programming companies and they don't have degree. Like there are a lot of programmers working with Google, Microsoft, and they don't have a degree in computer science. So not having a degree won't stop you from becoming a programmer. Programming is one of the few career you can have that doesn't depend on a degree. However, programming is a knowledge intense career. That doesn't mean it's something you can just dash into. You have to have your way by reading essential books, by watching tutorial videos. If you're going to start a career in programming, the book should cover the essential concept of computer science as well as how to work on project team, setting a firm foundation for your technical skills with a solid understanding of the basic concepts on top of writing functional codes. If you are able to get all this, probably you have the material, you have the right videos, have the right books. It's a thing you can do. I know of someone at 200 level drop out of university so that he can focus more on programming. Because we discover most of our tertiary institutions, especially in Nigeria, I don't know for other countries, but here in Nigeria, they often waste most of students' time Students are preoccupied with things that won't really need them. Most of the things that are being taught in university, it's only few of them that will actually help you when you get outside, when you're working. So it's a thing you can do without having a degree. So we're moving to the next item I have. Now, programming. At first, if you're not careful, you may be overwhelmed. By the time you get into program, there are a lot of things: front end, back end, this, that, cyber security, artificial intelligence. And by the time you're checking different websites, you'll be seeing different names, different pictures. Now I'll tell you, it's very interesting. Seeing those pictures, you think programming is something art. You think it's something very easy to do. Programming is much taxing. But seeing those posters, those adverts on programming, different language, different skills, it attracts. And seeing them, you think, it's a thing you can just learn. While learning, HTML, I can be learning CSS at the same time Ruby, at the same time PHP. If you're not careful, you end up learning nothing. But it should be a thing you learn gradually. If you're new to programming, the first thing you ought to learn is HTML, because HTML is for every website, for every development, HTML is more like the skeleton. So it's very appropriate to learn HTML first. But in a situation where the first thing you jump into is probably without you skip HTML, CSS, then you jump into probably Ruby or JavaScript. You might be confused. But learning accordingly, taking the right steps, starting from the lowest, increasing gradually, will help you a lot. But trying to learn everything may actually be a problem. There are hundreds of programming language out there. Like I said, there are areas of programming that paves the way for particular career paths. Web developers, we have front end developers, back end developers, software engineer, database developer, etc. You have to be ascertain of which one of it do you want. Then having the right goal of what you want. Like before, during my last kid, I said before you're embarking into anything, whether you're trying to learn something, you have to know the reason why you're doing it. If you want to go into web development and that type that likes probably designing the picture, you know, front end will suit you more. And from there, it's actually advisable if you want to become a full stack to actually start with front end. But trying to learn everything at the same time, it might actually lead to loss of focus. But taking your time to do one first, the trick is to learn a few things very well. When you're confident in a few things, then you can add some other things to it. But if you're yet to master JavaScript, you only know the basic. You're yet to know the fundamentals and to know some things. You include Python. You're not done with Python, you include some other things. You just end up losing everything. So we're going to dash into the next item I have here. And the next one is you don't need to be a robot. It is better if you are human. Remember, you are a human first and a programmer second. It is easy to get lost in your code. It won't be easy at first, especially when you run into some problems and you don't know how to figure it out. You will feel discouraged. It's normal thing. You're a human. You don't have to feel down or feel ashamed. And those successful programmers today, they started somewhere. It's not that they were born with that mentality or that gift. Mentality is something you develop. With the right mindset, you can learn whatever you want to learn. Those that are programmers today, their brain is not configured perhaps separately for that. With practice and trials, they develop that. So anybody can become a programmer if you can do whatever it takes, if you can put in your best. So next one, you have to have a life outside being a programmer. You have to have a life outside of being a programmer. So many people believe that being a programmer, you have to sit in one room with a chair, you and your laptop alone, you start coding 24 hours. But it's more than that. Coding doesn't mean you shouldn't enjoy yourself. Be romantic, do something else. No need, let's go forward. Do some other thing. Go out, play football, meet people. Listen up, listen. So do some other things. Everything shouldn't be programming. By the time all your activities, probably 90% or 100% of your activities is programming, you'll be defecting some things. You won't get to relate with people. You'll be socially imbalanced. In everything we do, we have to be balanced. By the time all you do is to sit somewhere, programming, you don't interact, you don't tend to meet people. Even networking will actually help you to become a good programmer. But by the time you sit all alone, you're doing it all by yourself. There are some things you won't see. Even while doing that, there are some problems that you're supposed to solve within 2 days or a day. But because you're all alone, it will take you longer. But if you go out, you meet other people, you meet other programmers, even non-programmers, you chat, that will refresh you. It will energize you to bring the energy to do whatever you want to do. However, to be a happy programmer, you have to proactively seek a life outside your computer screen. Often, the success of your career depend on the people you meet. Networking is essential when you are a programmer. Having a personality outside of being a programmer is essential to keep yourself from being addicted to programming. When you can enjoy your passion without being compelled to do it, there's not much to talk about that. The next one is you learn programming faster if you pair program with someone. The Yoruba will normally say that, I don't know if it's Yoruba or normal, that two heads is better than one. I don't know how to go about, but you get the idea, Sha. Now, at the beginning of your career, listen, at the beginning of your career, I'll send you out of my class. Yeah, at the beginning of your career, you will be tempted to close your door to the world and read those books on programming or watch tutorial or learn everything by yourself. Guess what? You learn much faster if you find a body. When you pair program with someone, all your programming works comes out. Your code will be critical. You will learn to write efficient codes. When you're alone, there are some things you won't point out. You won't get you may not see because it's actually difficult to see your flaws. But it's very easy for someone else to see your flaws than you yourself. By the time you're coding with someone, the person can easily point out, you're not good here. There's a problem here. There's one bug here. But if you're alone, you may not see that on time. You may think you're doing fine. You may think you're doing well. You may know by the time you get outside and you tend to meet other people, you know that you know nothing. But if you're actually with people you're doing together, that's why it's normally good during the exam time. Probably some hours to the exam time, if you just group. For me, no, not that. I mean reading. But when you actually work with someone at a team, you go faster. The same thing. So when you work as a programmer, someone always review your code. So the person can easily review, or when you've done something, you just ask the person to review your code. And the person can see some things that you were unable to see. But if you're all alone, the next item is there will be a time, there will definitely be a time. That time will be tested. That time will surely come. For those that are trying to move into programming, you want to give up. Even if at the beginning you're very ascertain that your passion is programming, especially when you run into one stupid problem and you don't know how to go about it, and you're all alone, you want to quit and you want to do something else. Sometimes you just bump into problem you can't solve. Sometimes it gets so difficult that you just want to quit. Sometimes work environments make you want to quit, but your passion depends on your persistence. This is when you are tested. As you're here to stay or you're going out. But what will make the difference is that time will come, you give up. You tell yourself that I'm not interested anymore. Probably I should look into other direction. But what makes the difference is after giving up, if it's actually a thing that you have passion for, you find your way back into it. No matter weeks it takes you, no matter days, you come back. But for those that give up and just fail to look back, that means they were imposters at first time. They just want to do it because other people are doing. But if you actually have passion for it, that doesn't mean you won't feel like giving up. But the difference is you come back. We are getting closer to the end. You'll be hired by someone you don't. But what's fun? Victor, what's fun? Hmm? You can share it to the. So you'll be hired by someone you don't want to work for. A time will come. Even if you are a mediocre programmer, like average or not that ordinary programmer, there will come a time when certain companies will need your skills. When they are interviewing you, try to remember that you are interviewing them too. Depending on company culture, you might find yourself wanting to say no. Then it's almost critical to find a company culture that you can't fit into. That's the problem with most programmer. Like being coming, I can say most programmer they wish they should just wear they should be casual. Just wear round neck, wear like simple pants, then simple sandal body, The idea of when being corporate casual to some people it's a nightmare. But but for the meantime, it's a thing we have to adjust to. So a time will come where we need to work in an environment that won't be 100% comfortable, but you should try and adjust. Then this also is a time will definitely come. You will be told that you don't know anything. They will tell you that you don't know anything. Someone who is probably frustrated with the project will make it a point to tell you that you don't know anything. Perhaps, perhaps they do this to put you in your place. But well, since you're present here today, you just take just take it without any emotional feelings. And because you probably know a lot more than you think, people actually say some things just to push you. By the time they keep praising you, you're good, you're that, you may be relaxed. But some people actually they are doing it to ginger you more, doing it to make you work harder. But why some people are actually wicked, they are doing it to bring you down. But as far as you're in program every day, you're doing it every day. Even if you think you're not learning, but unconsciously you're adding something to yourself. A time will come, you feel like you don't know anything. When I started, I'll have to go back to some things. It will feel like after spending like some months, like you don't know anything at all. But there is something. It's just for you to, while doing some things, unconsciously you are adding some things to it. But if you don't believe in yourself, that's the problem with so many people. They have the ability, they have the energy, they have the skills, but because they fail to realize it or they fail to see themselves doing it, they won't be able to access those skills. So don't give up. If anybody discourages you or tells you that you don't know anything, the end. Any question? Please, I'll tolerate just two questions. If there's one.
Just let them be answering. Ask questions.
And then
If
the
they don't
time
have
will
ask
lapse.
questions, ask them questions.
The question duration will last.
If they want to say something, just say okay.